Do you want to know what about 6 of the most awkward conversations that I have ever had in my life were? I've probably been asked by at least a half dozen of Maggie and, well, now probably Tessie's doctors too. Actually, I can think of at least one of Tessie's doctors who knew me for about 2 years before she said this to me. So she knew me pretty well, who have asked me if I would consider the possibility that I'm on the spectrum. They've said it in different ways. Sometimes it's always awkward. They're usually a little bit embarrassed when they bring it up. My favorite one was when one of my kids' doctors said, "I really wonder if you were on the spectrum when you were a kid." And I knew what she was saying. She wasn't saying, she didn't really think that if I was just on the spectrum if I was a kid. She just didn't want to offend me by saying what quite a few other doctors had already said to me at that point, because like 5 of them had already said it, which was, "Do you think you're autistic?" And I never quite know how to answer. I've always said I don't know, or maybe. A couple times I admitted that in college I was diagnosed with OCD, but that it doesn't really feel to me like OCD fit. I'm not self-diagnosing. That's not going to happen. There are definitely things that I'm like, oh, the girls get that from me. Maggie and Tessie totally get that from me. And in a lot of ways I feel like I really can relate to them. But testing with our insurance feels very, very unlikely. And so here we are. The thing is, I think the reason that it comes up a lot is because we have girls. We have girls who are on the autism spectrum, and that isn't usual. That isn't as usual, and especially having multiple girls who are on the autism spectrum, it's not super common. And that is how I'm starting this video today. I am just going to be honest with you, and we'll go from there. I don't really feel like I need any sort of diagnosis. I don't feel like there's anything in my life that I really need treatment for. I have depression, and I have medication for depression that really, really helps. SSRIs work really, really well for me. I can exercise a lot, and that helps a tiny bit. I can do a lot of different things. I can pray and exercise and eat right, and all those things will help my depression a teeny, 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 tiny bit. But SSRIs just kind of wash it away, like 99% of it. Well, those other things do maybe like, 2%. So for me, that's probably the biggest thing that I needed a diagnosis of some sort for. I've talked about before that I have anxiety. I definitely have anxiety. I definitely have social anxiety. There's my voice that's like my regular voice, and then there's like my fake voice that's like 10 times higher than this, that I use when I'm on the phone or when I'm talking with people that I don't know well, or just when I'm nervous and uncomfortable. They sound nothing alike. And I love sunglasses. The reason I own like 20 different pairs of sunglasses is because I hate making eye contact with probably 90% of people. There's 10% of people that I don't even think about making eye contact with. It doesn't bother me at all. But for most people, it's just something that's super conscious all the time. I make myself make eye contact, but I'm thinking about it, and then I'm thinking like, oh, I'm making too much eye contact. Yep, person's trying to get uncomfortable because it's too much. Okay, look away, look away. Oh, now I need to make eye contact again. Nope, making eye contact again. It's never natural. It's always awkward. And yeah, even when I think like I've nailed it, it's still probably more awkward than I know. That's why I love sunglasses, especially big, giant, dark sunglasses. I am always hoping for a year in which giant sunglasses are in. Maybe that's why I didn't really notice with Maggie that she didn't make eye contact with people when she was little, because eye contact isn't my favorite thing either. It's either something that is completely natural for me with some people, where I can make eye contact, and I even enjoy making eye contact with some people. I can look at people and give someone a look, like you both see something that's funny and you look at each other and you smile. That happens, and it's totally comfortable and it's totally natural and it's not forced. But most eye contact for me is not ever like that. And then there's sensory things. This morning when we got ready for school, Patrick cried because I handed him socks that I felt were very soft and appropriate socks. And he cried because when he tried to put them on his feet, he said that the sound that they made hurt his ears. And I can completely and totally relate to that. Not with those socks, not with that fabric. Patrick is like how I was on steroids. There's a lot of different fabrics and little different textures that if I touch them, it's like the sound that touching them makes hurts, if that makes sense. Like Paul has a hologram cup that is his favorite team, and touching it makes a sound that like, ugh, just even thinking about it. And there was a day when it was out on the table and I said, hey Patrick, if you touch that cup, I bet it'll make a sound that hurts. And Patrick was like, and then of course he had to do it because he's a kid, and he was like, exactly like me. And yeah, so I mean, I do understand some of that sensory stuff. When I'm in the house, I always have shoes on. Right now I have my lovely bees with me because I hate being able to feel any tiny, tiny little piece of dirt under my feet, even though I sweep and clean every single day. It's still, I can feel just, a tiny bit of something, and it's not that I'm really a neat freak. I'm not. It's just that I just can't stand like that little feeling of something under my foot. It drives me crazy. I've always been, I'd say, good at making one friend at a time, not ever good in groups. I can do it because you have to do it in life, but I really don't like being in groups very much. As you can probably tell of that video of after the first day of school, I don't love it when people I don't know very well touch me at all. Although I think that's kind of typical. I don't think that was abnormal, was it? I don't know. There are these online tests for adults that are by like, this one's by Attitude Magazine. Is that Attitude Magazine? That looks like an ADD magazine, huh? There's one Psych Central, Psychology Tools. Which one should we do? Take the Autism test by Wired? That doesn't sound legit. And again, I know this isn't real. This is not a diagnosis of autism. But I'm kind of curious how I would score on something like this. And so I'm going to tell you my answers to these questions. This one is from, okay, this is Attitude Magazine, ADDITUDE. I just put in autism test online. Let's see what it looks like. I like things the way I like them, and it upsets me when people try to interfere with my systems and or routines. Often true, sometimes true, rarely true, never. We're going to go with often true. Paul does things wrong, I have to redo them. When I was little, I remember my poor mom having to say a lot, let's be flexible, let's be flexible. Cammy's not very flexible. Oh, when working on a project at home or at work, I sometimes focus too intently on small details and lose sight of the big picture. I make great the enemy of good and miss deadlines as a result. I don't think that's, I'm going to put sometimes true, but I feel like instead of that, what I do instead is I either do it and just do it and get it done, or I procrastinate and put it off and put it off and put it off because I'm so stressed and anxious about actually doing it. And I like freak out and then I think, oh, it's too late. Now I can't do it. I'm just as likely to do that. That's like for when I'm supposed to call someone or text someone or email someone, I do that. I guess that's not a project, so it's not exactly the same thing, but I'm more of a, I need to do something, and it's not that I work on it, it's that I put it off because I'm stressed about it, and then, anyway, that's probably social anxiety, I guess. Especially in text messages or social media, sarcasm and tone of voice are lost on me. I take things literally and get upset or get confused as a result. I know I'll put sometimes true. I know that's definitely happened. That's why I have left almost, I'm in a few like YouTube ones and a couple groups, but I left like probably 100 Facebook groups because the drama, and it was too much for my brain. Loud noises, pungent smells, and where certain fabrics are physically painful for me. I may need to cover my ears, change clothes, or leave a situation due to sensory overload when others seem unbothered. We'll go with certain fabrics for often true, or always true. Conversation and, loud sounds too, like fireworks. Some, not always. Some fireworks are fine. Other fireworks, we'll say unexpected fireworks. Conversation doesn't flow easily for me. I interrupt or talk over people, finish other sentences, and speak in fits and starts, especially with new people I don't know well. I'm going to say sometimes true because it's really true. Conversation doesn't flow easily for me. I don't interrupt people or finish other sentences. I do speak in fits and starts, especially with people I don't know well. I'm more likely, though, just to sit there and not talk at all, or just say something and it ends up being really awkward. My family members lovingly refer to me as the eccentric professor because I know a lot about topics that interest me, but I tend to go overboard. And that could be under the sometimes true category. I know a lot about topics that interest me. I tend to go overboard. I have an autism channel where I have hundreds of videos talking about autism. I mean, and poor Paul, oh my gosh, because I watch those true crime channels. I need a true crime channel so that I can channel that into doing videos instead of poor Paul having to listen to me talk about the videos and the things that I watch and read all the time. I enjoy inventing my own words and expressions which seem quirky to others. I think rarely true. When I meet a person I like, I have a hard time establishing a meaningful, ongoing friendship with him and her. Often true. When I meet. Offline, definitely true. We've lived in Michigan since 2011, and I have 0 friends who are not somehow related to the kids' therapy and the kids. When I'm having a conversation with someone, or family, when I'm having a conversation with someone, I tend to look at a wall, her shoes, or anywhere but directly into her eyes. Sometimes true. My tone of voice does not accurately reflect my emotions in the moment. Am I talking to another person in this situation? We'll go with sometimes true because my tone of voice is fine unless I'm talking to a person that unless I'm on the phone or I'm talking to someone I don't know. And then it's like way up here. At work, I prefer to tackle large projects with a group of colleagues so that we can all contribute our strengths and collaborate on the best outcome. Never, ever, ever, ever. In college, group projects were the bane of my existence. I would rather do the entire project by myself than do a group project with my group. When in a quiet place like the library or church, I find myself making involuntary noises like clearing my throat over and over again. Rarely true. My boss and or teachers have expressed frustration with my tendency to submit work that doesn't match their expectations or directives. I think I'm doing what they asked, but I'm off target. I'm going to go with rarely true. I excel at math or music. Definitely math, definitely not music. I have trouble understanding what people mean when they say, I feel embarrassed for him. Often true. I am detail-oriented. Often true. I notice right away when someone is acting bored, restless, or frustrated while talking with me. Sometimes true. Sorry, I haven't looked up in a long time. My memory is like a steel trap, even for facts I don't fully understand. Yeah. I was targeted by bullies. My daily schedule and routine is like clockwork, and I like it that way. Yep. We pretty much have the same schedule every day, and if something gets changed, it's so bad because whenever something's canceled, there's so many times when I still go there and then we get there and it's like, that was canceled. Don't you remember? I gave you the piece of paper that said it was canceled. And it's so bad. I prefer to play individual games and sports like golfing, bicycle, or sailing. Yes. Individual over team sports. I am clumsy and uncoordinated. That is incredibly true. I've worked very hard to be less uncoordinated, but I am still naturally very clumsy. My favorite books are nonfiction. I love to learn new things. Often true. I love fiction. I love nonfiction. I love them both. I love fantasy and science fiction. I love nonfiction. Okay. Finished quiz. Let's see how we did here. I scored 61%. Okay, let's see what that means. If your score was 52 or higher, that means you answered often true to 12 or more questions and see a trained health professional, as there is a possibility that you may be experiencing symptoms of autism spectrum disorder. Print this out and bring it with you. I got a 61%. So 52 or higher, and there's a possibility. I got 61%. Oh, fun story. One of the things that I remember doing when I was little was I had a best friend, and she just was really good at social things. And I remember like watching how she did things like, "Hi, how are you?" "Good, I'm fine." "Hi, how are you?" "Oh, I'm fine, thank you, how are you?" And thinking that it was all so weird, but like studying it because it seemed really necessary to learn how to do that stuff. And the OCD thing, it was because when I was younger, I always wanted to count things or do things in a certain pattern, or do things over and over again, like, open and close the refrigerator 3 times, open and close the oven 3 times, open and close things over and over and over again, check to make sure I turned off the oven over and over again, check to make sure I locked the door over and over again. I don't do that anymore. I haven't done that in a really, really long time. But yeah, I have questions. I don't know if I'll ever have answers to those questions. I definitely wonder. I wonder about that. I wonder if I have Ehlers-Danlos. My doctor has tried really hard to get me tested, because I had 3 different doctors say that they thought that I have Ehlers-Danlos hypermobility type, because I have there's only on that, what is it, the Baton scale, there's only 2 things that I can't do. Like, my joints are super, super hypermobile all over the place. And Tessie is 1,000 times more hypermobile than me. She can easily do like the sideways splits. And I actually asked genetics about it, and genetics said that there's no one in the state of Michigan that diagnoses adults with Ehlers-Danlos, hypermobility type, and that they will not diagnose Tessie with it until she's 6 years old. So, I mostly brought this up because it's come up in so many doctor's appointments. And sometimes I see stories of adults who get diagnosed after their kids are diagnosed, and I do kind of wonder. I remember sitting in college classes in college and thinking, oh my gosh, my brain works differently than every single person in this room. I don't think I even read the same book as anyone here. And it happened over and over again. This was when we were really reading like the classics in seminar, like the Odyssey or the Iliad, and it just made me feel weird. Enough about me. Way, way more than enough about me. That is it for today. If you like this video, we'd love it if you'd give it a thumbs up, and if you're interested in all things autism, we'd love it if you'd hit subscribe. And I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.